Hi, it's Colleen Lowe. Welcome, friend. We're so glad to have you join us here today. I have my friend, Bridgette Ruiz, who is here with us. I'm so excited. I met her when I first joined the Subto community, which is Pace Morby's creative finance community. And I'm so excited to have you on the show today and to talk about coaching and looking for our strengths and maybe like why people might want to get into real estate investing and leave the corporate world, because sometimes corporate culture is not exactly what people thought it was going to be, and maybe finding your joy and your happiness and maybe not beating yourself up so much. So tell us about, how did you get started in investing and coaching and finding your strengths and all of that?
Yeah, I'm going to start with a story. I think that some might be able to connect with this story. And so I have over 20 years in corporate, roles, and of the last few years have run into global organization where I stepped into a position that was really not focused on the strengths and what I can actually do, knowing those strengths. And so a little story and a little background of myself is that it took a position that I was really thinking it was going to be what I wanted. I had always set a goal. I was going to make a 6-figure income, and I got that. And it was a person of one and great pay, but work-life balance was not there. Expectations were it's a global organization in Ireland. And so at that point I was taking calls at 3 o'clock in the morning, impact to my family life, and to, kind of briefly describe that it was, a horrible boss in that experience. And I'm sure anybody could understand, perhaps that is something you could resonate with.
A horrible boss.
Horrible boss, right?
Yeah, makes your life miserable.
Yes, and it was such an impact that I was really struggling, and it started to really resonate with my family. They were able to see I wasn't thriving. I was working at ridiculous hours, kind of turned to enjoying and having fun and having alcohol to kind of numb that. Was in that space and was not feeling well. I knew I had to do something drastic, and that meant I couldn't stay there any longer. And so I took a leap to leave. Knew that was really the only option. I wasn't sleeping well. My health was deteriorating, and it wasn't going to get any better. And no amount of meditation, no amount of exercise could help. And I just needed to remove myself. And so, horrible boss gone, and moving on to another opportunity that when I started, it was part of my onboarding was that even before I was hired, I was going to complete a Clifton Strengths assessment. And so every employee would complete this, right? So there's your top 5. And so I was able to at least get that. I had the assessment years ago, but it'd been a long time. I left it behind with another employer. And so here I was redoing it. I knew a lot about it. I knew that it was to serve in a place of finding what's right with people. And so when I stepped into that new role, I learned my top 5 before starting, but when I stepped in, they had a consultant who was doing the work of coaching, but it wasn't much of a really embedded experience. And so I saw that opportunity, and one of those, but I've been in business for many years, so it was a chance to say, I can help make this better. And we were talking about my strengths just a moment ago.
Yeah, which is making things better.
Right. And I have a high learner. And so that learner really did say, and I see this in myself. I see when I know someone's strengths, and I feel that I can see these things resonate, and we actually see them in our life. And so I was volunteering, saying, please let me help do this across the agency. And they said, yeah, let's get you certified. And so instead of having the consultants, I stepped in, started coaching, and it's been great, and really helpful to see. And I for me personally, to be able to see others thrive and to see that when you want to make some improvements, whether it's in real estate and you're
Yeah.
working with a team, right? Or you have a partner. I actually have a client that I'm working with right now who is an investor and has a partner and says, I really need to understand, because we use some passive aggressive language. But I think if I use this tool, it will help. And I shared that it gives you a common language, right? And so when a coach steps in, they can really help expedite growth and overcoming some of the challenges, the problems that a team may have, a partnership may have, and just to be able to see that positive of what each of us bring, because we all have talents.
Everyone has gifts and talents.
Yes.
Can you explain for our listeners and our viewers, what is this test? What are these 5 strengths that you're talking about? Like what, just like, maybe just for someone like me who doesn't really know about this test.
Yep.
And maybe just kind of just give a little framework about, you take this test and then what does it give you and how can it help?
Yes. So the assessment is 177 questions. It's timed, so you're very quick. You got to answer very quickly. Ultimately, you receive a report that has either the top 5, which are the most powerful. They're just the things that come natural to you. And so we call it, there's some international, like some interchangeable language where we talk about our strengths. However, Gallup's definition of these are more of a theme. So this theme is represented by 30, there's 34 of them.
34.
Yes. And so those that are at the top, say your top 5, those come completely natural. That's what you do. You don't have to put a lot of energy into it, a lot of effort. And so the ones down towards the bottom require more energy. And not that you can't do it. It just means that it's going to take maybe some creative ways to accomplish that. Or you find somebody else who complements you, right? Sometimes when you have a relationship, you find that you're completely opposite than the other person, and somehow that works, right? So even in business, marital relationships, or whether it's, raising children, families, right? If you know each other's strengths, it helps to kind of move everybody along and feel like you understand each other, and you create some common language.
I like that. I have a question for you. Yeah. How did you decide or think about, if you're working a full-time job, right, and raising a family, which is demanding, what made you think, oh, I should get into investing in real estate as a side hustle? I'm always interested about that, because I love that you do that.
Yes.
But how did you get to that?
So when the children were much younger, I kept saying it a lot. I kept telling my son in particular really picked up on this. And I said I was going to invest. And he was on board. He at 13, he was saying, I want to be an investor. I want to invest. I said, this is great. Yeah. Right? I mean, how many young people actually say they want to invest? So he kept, perhaps it was because I kept saying this, right? And now that I think about this, he was born with kind of this little extra little nodule thing on the side of his ear. And when he was young, I told him it was his smart button. Oh, I love it. It was his smart button. And I think that really kind of created this like feeling of I can do anything. I'm smart, right? And it was always just reinforced. So to say that I wanted to be an investor when they were young and that I would invest, I spent a lot of time focused on them and raising the family, but that little smart button and wanting to invest was kind of the nice segue into, if I said I was going to do it, I want to do it. And I will do it with, ongoing learning. And of course it's something, and the high learner in me definitely is always going to be looking to, understand and grow. So yeah, that's a bit of the segue into real estate, and really because of family legacy. I want to leave a family legacy. I want to, be able to help my family grow in financial knowledge, because I feel as though we don't have a lot of financial literacy for our young people. And I feel very passionate about that as well.
Yeah, we don't teach it in school.
No, so not a lot of knowledge there unless you go and seek it.
Mhm.
It's really not something that you see presented to our young people. And coaching I have done with my children, right? It really, coaching is a conversation with purpose, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a coach, someone who helps ask questions, and I'm not driving the conversation. I'm in the passenger seat, and whomever I feel honored wants to have conversation about growth and how to get to the next level, I can help, right? I can ask some questions. I can be that person who, is helping to think about, what does that future look like?
Yeah.
Right? How are you going to get there? What are the steps? What are the things that you can do? And we can do that together. And I feel very, it's a privilege. It really is, because that is very intimate, the relationship
With the people you coach.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that having a coach is so important. Professional athletes and high achieving people all have coaches, and I think that I have coaches and I pay for high level coaching. And I think that you get further faster when you have a coach, and they help you stay accountable. They help you maybe see around corners. And it's nice to have that sounding board. I think in the beginning, you need a lot of maybe hand holding, but over time, you just need access to a coach to be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or how should I handle that? Or I have this opportunity, or I'm having this roadblock, or,
Right. And when we think about coaching in, say, a sports environment, right? The coach knows the strengths, right? In baseball, for example, I'm a big fan of baseball. I like baseball. And, when you think about it, you're not going to put a pitcher out,
on third base.
Third base. That's not their expertise. Their expertise is as a pitcher, right? And then there's even subcategories behind that, right? You might be the closer, right? Like you could be a pitcher that's the starter. Like there's even positions within the expertise of being a pitcher, for example.
It's just like real life, right?
Absolutely.
And the better you get, and I feel like the better you get at your strengths and just really hone it and perfect your skills, right? And then you farm out and have other people handle the things that are your weaknesses, that are not your number one thing that you should be doing, the ideal thing. I see so many people in real estate get bogged down with paperwork, and they should just hire a transaction coordinator, because your number one thing should be getting deals, right? Making relationships and finding deals and connecting with people. And the time you spent doing your paperwork is so much better spent getting more deals. And that's kind of thing is how I look at it.
Absolutely. And that's absolutely the same when you understand your strengths, right? The assessment is a tool, and that's just to help you understand, get some knowledge about yourself. But the hard work comes when you really start to, as your point, push aside the things that are busy work that don't allow you to do what you naturally thrive and do with ease. And so do what is easy for you, that you enjoy doing. Right?
And I think no one teaches us this stuff when we're kids growing up, right? And it's just because our parents didn't know, right? And our teachers. And I just think that when we focus on our strengths, that we just, I think things become easier, and then we farm out the other things and hire people to, or if you can't hire people, align yourself with somebody who, and partner up in JV with people that complement your strengths.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why the teams like in our community of Subto is they have the different avatars and people
Mhm.
figure out what they are, and then you line up with other people to help to form a complete team, which is
Right.
nice.
Right, and understanding the avatars, for example, some of them even align with some of the strengths. You know, we've got connectors.
really?
That's
Yeah.
actually one of my top 5 is I'm a connector.
Right.
And I definitely resonate with that. And I can see that I enjoy
Mm-hmm.
meeting people. I enjoy getting to connect with people. Also very high in my top, top strengths is relator. And relators really enjoy having one-on-one relationships and building trust, and then being able to execute things together. And I've seen it over the course of, of time that when those relationships are there, we trust each other, we move forward. And that for me is, I find a lot of joy. It should not feel like you're exhausted.
Yes.
And I'll give an example for those that are down, like the strengths that are down a little lower. For example, I'll lead a virtual meeting with 25 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having to put a lot of energy and effort into it. And at the end of this, thinking it was an hour long, I feel exhausted. Well, it's because I wasn't using a strength that comes natural to me. And eventually, what I've learned is I need to delegate. I need to be prepared before these meetings. I need to have things ready to go so that when we're in this, I'm not using that energy in a way that I feel it at the end. And now when I do these, I definitely feel a lot better. I know how to work through it, but you have to have some recognition of that.
Mm-hmm.
Do work, right? Understand, because it all requires work. And anything good, right, requires work. So if you want to improve yourself, work on a team and understand the elements of the team, knowing each other, and then being able to create action plans. That's huge. You got to be able to say, I know what we need to do to, kind of
A clear vision.
Yes, a vision of, and then some action items.
Yeah,
right?
if you don't take action, if you just learn, and you don't take any action, well, it doesn't matter what you learn.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes, and that it's a tool. So for any tool, what's the outcome? What do you want out of that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And an assessment like this can easily be where, oh, this is great, this is fun, I now know all of this, but then nothing happens with it. And that's where you can fall short. And that's why when a coach is there, you're really looking to help develop people, to help them grow, and then be able to really kind of change behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you continue doing what you've always done, you're not going to grow. And with a coach, you're actually getting there faster, as you had said. You're going to get there much quicker.
How does somebody connect with you to do this assessment and talk to you and explore about being coached by you?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. Reach out to me on Instagram. My last name Ruiz, RUIZ _ Bridgette, BRIDGETTE.
Mm-hmm.
Just reach out, and I do really want to ensure I have the right clients who want to take action.
Yeah.
And so I want to spend some time. I'll just spend a few minutes, just a kind of brief intake kind of meeting, and see if this is something that you want to explore, if you see value in it, and perhaps it's the right match. It is very intimate, and I always preface with my clients that I don't share anything. I keep it with me, and it's an experience to help one grow.
That's good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, what advice do you have for our viewers that are thinking, oh, that sounds interesting, maybe I should do that, or maybe I'm interested in investing in real estate? What would you say to them, that people that are thinking, that's interesting, Bridgette, has been unhappy in a job and left a corporate job and is now doing what she loves. Maybe, I'm unhappy. Maybe they're thinking, I'm unfulfilled in my job, or miserable, or you could be downright miserable, right? What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, and this goes right back to those top 5 strengths, and knowing what you do
Wow.
well. We've got chimes.
Yeah,
But,
the angels are talking to us.
Yes, they are. Just, I would say go with what you do is you have passion with,
Mhm.
right? And the same in the real estate world. You learn that maybe it's not, you're a buy and hold real estate investor. Maybe your success will be, you want to lend money. And,
Mhm.
there's so many different ways, but do what you find passion, like where there's passion. Otherwise, misery and feelings of not being successful creep in. So it really is about finding joy and what do you want to do. That in my case, I enjoy just serving others.
Mhm.
I'm a humble servant, and I want to ensure that others are growing, that I'm growing, and that I'm adding value. I have 3 children, amazing. Could not have done it though without my husband.
Yeah,
And
makes a difference, huh?
it does, and I would never have had 3 if it wasn't for him. But he's definitely a rock
Mhm.
that has pushed me in the times when I needed it. Even taking that leap to take on that startup company to do that.
Mhm.
He was that positive voice in the back saying, you can do this. And to hear that from somebody else is exactly what happens when you have a coach, right? The coach sees in you and can also reassure you that, and if you believe that the coach can see that in you,
Yeah.
you can do it.
Yeah, I love that. I think that when you can have somebody to help bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be, it really helps in the process of becoming the person you're meant to be. And I love that you said that the joy factor. I always ask myself, what would I love? And when you start asking yourself more, what would you love? I think then you start living a life that you love.
Absolutely.
I think that what we should do is finish our interview and then start a new one for you. What do you think about that?
I like that idea.
Right?
Let's
I think
do
that's
that.
better, right? Okay. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you guys go and find Bridgette on her Instagram, which is Ruiz_Bridgette on Instagram. And if you can't find her, do you have an email?
I do.
What's your email?
My email is contact, CONTACT at Bridge. So the first portion of my name, BRIDGERR.net.
Okay, there we go, you guys. So now you have 2 ways to contact her. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to the next episode of Born to Be Brave.